And over time, what I've seen with art is the goal has really evolved, particularly within the past 10 years. I would say that it's not art that is just serving as decoration, but it's really art that is now becoming part of delivering the vision of a property.
Welcome to CRE Radio for influential commercial real estate professionals who work with investors, buyers, and sellers of commercial real estate coast to coast. Whether you're an investor, broker, lender, property manager, attorney, or accountant, we're here to learn from the experts.
Welcome to Commercial Real Estate Pro Network's CRE Radio. Thanks for joining us. My name is Jay Darren Gross. This is the podcast focused on commercial real estate investment and risk management strategies. Weekly, we have conversations with commercial real estate investors and professionals who provide their experience and insight to help you grow your real estate portfolio. Today's interview is sponsored by Building Insurance and Risk. When you invest in real estate, it pays to work with a real estate investor protection specialist to protect yourself and your investment from catastrophic loss. The experts at Building Insurance and Risk focus on real estate investor protection. They provide you with multiple insurance coverage offers and a side-by-side coverage comparison. To learn more, go to buildinginsurancerisk.com. Today, my guest is Jennifer Brener Seay. If you're a developer who wants your projects to become more than just buildings, today's episode is for you. Jennifer Brener Seay is the founder and CEO of Art Plus Artisans, who's rewriting the playbook on real estate development by transforming commercial real estate. And in just a minute, we're going to speak with Jennifer Brener Seay about the ROI of Art. But first, a quick reminder, if you like our show, CRE Radio, there are a couple things you can do to help us out. You can like, share, and subscribe. And as always, we encourage you to leave a comment. We love to hear from our listeners. Also, if you want to see how attractive our guests are, be sure to check out our YouTube channel. You can find us on YouTube at Commercial Real Estate Pro Network. And while you're there, please subscribe. With that, I want to welcome my guest, Jennifer Brener Seay. Welcome to CRE Radio.
Hi, Darren. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I'm delighted you're here. And before we get started, though, if you could take just a minute and share with the listeners a little bit about your background.
Yeah, absolutely. I started Art Plus Artisans. We actually just celebrated our 23rd anniversary in May. And when I started out, I was very focused on end user office clients, banks, and wealth management and insurance firms looking to do art. And at the time, people really were looking for art more to fill space, I would say, keep from having blank walls. We were doing a lot of, I'm based in Austin. People wanted a lot of Texas landscapes. They wanted bluebonnets in the bluebonnet conference room. And it was a different goal of where I've seen art in real estate evolve these days. And as the company grew, and our projects grew, we moved more into not just working with end users, but also working on with architects and interior design firms on whatever projects they needed help with finding art. And then that evolved also into real estate developers on all different kinds of projects, everything from office, mixed use, multifamily, student housing, so a really broad range. A little bit of healthcare, where it's very important to have artwork to provide a environment that feels healing and welcoming, not sterile, and not scary. And over time, what I've seen with art is the goal has really evolved, particularly within the past 10 years. I would say that it's not art that is just serving as decoration, but it's really art that is now becoming part of delivering the vision of a property. So becoming in tune with the branding, being in tune with connecting with whatever market our clients are trying to attract, um, becoming a way to increase the well-being of people who walk into a space so that when you walk in, you actually feel good and it creates a space that you would want to return to. So, using art to help create a place that becomes a destination. And it's become so much more than decoration now. And it's really a tool that property owners, developers, and companies can use to attract people and help them want to return to your space.
No, that's awesome. I appreciate you kind of going through that, and I'm curious just on the evolution, kind of what you were describing there of art. I mean, from pictures on a wall to more of a significant kind of piece, or not limited to just that, I guess. Uh, is there anything that you can point to or that you can identify that kind of caused that transformation? Was it the the consumer, or was it the artist, or was it demand? I'm kind of curious.
I mean, it's interesting to think about. I think design in general has just become a more valued tool as to drawing people in. We are attracted to good design. And I think that art goes hand in hand with that. There is a really interesting study at Stanford, came out of Stanford Business School about our how our brains are attracted to different things, and that 90 to 95% of our decisions are made subconsciously. So when we walk into a space, our brains, there's so many stimuli coming at us at any given second, like millions of stimuli coming at our senses at any given second, and we cannot possibly process all of that information. So our brains are drawn to things like color and texture and pattern and light naturally. That's part of the human experience. And so when there are things like good design, comfortable patterns and textures, there's color, those are the things that we grab onto and that we remember and that we associate with a positive experience. So I think it's, and design studies that. So I think part of it has just been this greater understanding of how good design and good art influences our daily experience could be part of the trend. I think there's also this desire for supporting our local communities, and people from all different cities really want to support their community and their city. And so there's been a move to include local artists, as on these different properties to show that connection to a local community. That is one way to visually let people know that we're here with you and we are part of this community and this is how we're supporting the community. So I think that push to working with local artists has been a really big deal. And, I also think that building community has become so important. It's become even more important since the pandemic, that we crave community, we crave experiences with other people, and we crave to belong. So art is one of those ways that you can, when you work with an artist, when you are working with not just putting a poster print on the wall, when you are adding original art to your environment, it is a way to create these spaces that people want to be, to come together, to connect with each other. And it's just very powerful. And I think like once certain, how one idea finds success and then people start, it gains momentum. And so I think that as art and design started gaining momentum and those properties were becoming more successful, real estate is competitive. And so, of course, everyone wants to be able um, to stay in line with what's working.
Yeah, it's fascinating. You mentioned, design, and I was just kind of thinking in my own mind of, what I've seen since, like 70s, 80s kind of thing, and just kind of more of a utility of design before is to more of like a creative, like a space that makes you go, wow, kind of thing. And then the ability to display or show off, or create a centerpiece, of some sort of art, to where it's not just something that's in the corner on the wall, or taking up the space to try and break up the space on the wall kind of thing. And that's kind of a cool timeline. And just but to hear, how, like chicken or the egg, which was first, and how that kind of synergy that's created between them, and making more of a desirable, place to be, or place that people take note of it. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think particularly these days where back to office, this is, there was a report from JLL that just came out that says that for real estate owners and for companies, this is the top goal in 2025. We need to get people back in the office. We want people to come back in the office. And yes, you can mandate it, but that doesn't mean somebody's going to stay with your company if they are not happy there. So I think that just creating these environments where people really enjoy working, and that's part of that is just a comfortable space. That's part of it is having the right tech and being able to be able to get the work done and having different locations of where you like to work. But there was also a study by a global workplace study by Gensler that showed that the happiest and most productive teams had a workspace where they loved spending time. And art is a huge factor in creating those environments that make us feel welcomed and happy and relaxed, which in turn also makes us more productive, up to 32% more productive according to studies. So it all plays in together.
Yeah. So I'm curious, the term return on investment of art
Mhm.
is not exactly where I would, I guess, tend to focus. I mean, or at least it wouldn't naturally come to my brain, return on investment with art. Um, can you explain how, is there a way to measure that?
Yeah. So I think there's two ways to, think about the return on investment in art. There's one that is 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 measurable, and there's been so many studies that show hard data around it. There was a recent study by Toronto Metropolitan University that shows that there is a 50% increase in the desire to spend time in a space when there is artwork there. So you have to think that through. If people are choosing 50% more of the time to spend time in a place with art, they are hanging out there more, they're spending their money there more, they are bringing their friends there. So it's that is in itself a huge metric that I think is really powerful. It's also, according to that same recent study, increasing positive feelings about a space by 63%. And people are sharing 77% more likely to share their experience about a place with artwork on social media or with their friends. So just that word of mouth, that getting the word out about a destination, having art there, there are hard numbers that show that it increases in all of these different factors. On top of that, there is, murals have just taken off. And there's been a number of studies in the past few years showing that not only does murals in mixed use property, when placed together, increase property values by up to 15%, according to the American Planning Association, but in numerous studies, it's also showed a decrease in crime. So, both in Cincinnati and Philadelphia, there were studies in both areas that showed a decrease in crime, violent crime, between 23 and 28% when there are murals and public art. More people are attracted to those areas, and I think more people naturally deter crime. So, I think all of those together are some really interesting statistics on the ROI of art. There's also been some interesting studies by Bloomberg Philanthropies on asphalt art. So, art in crosswalks and near pedestrian crossing areas showing a 50% decrease in traffic accidents involving pedestrians because people are more aware of their surroundings and they're slowing down and they're stopping, and it stops pedestrians from jaywalking and crossing at times, which also helps leads to that decrease. So lots of strong benefits there. But in addition to that, it's these, the other benefits come with that well-being. It's like how we feel in a space, which I think is harder to measure. But it's back to that Stanford study. When we walk into a place and we feel good, it registers in our brain instantly. And in fact, this was so fascinating to me. But when we see a piece of art that we love, our brains release the same dopamine and we have the exact same reaction as if we had just seen a person that we love. So, seeing a piece of art that we love can give us the same good feelings of seeing a person that we love. And when that happens, we make a positive mental note of our surroundings and we register that as a positive experience. Those are the places that we want to return to over and over again, the places where we had a great experience, where we feel good. That doesn't happen in a sterile environment. Those buildings, those properties that could just be anywhere are places that we walk through, we don't even notice, and we leave. It's not a place where we're choosing to hang around, where we're choosing to bring our friends, where we're choosing to bring our families back. Those are the one-off places or the places where we have to go, so we go and then we leave.
Yeah, makes sense. More of a kind of a sterile environment. Like I said, you get in, get out, kind of thing, versus something that catches your attention. Um, and it's interesting. The I guess just the whole spectrum of the possibility of art. Um, can you talk a little bit about, is there a ratio or some sort of a way to think about it from a standpoint of the size of the space and the amount of art, or the possibilities? If you've got just a small office as opposed to a big building with a common area, is there a way to think about the you know from I guess I'm trying to think of about the way to invest in it to make the
Sure.
impact to create the return, and in return I guess is a it's a I mean, I like the conversation, but I'm assuming that is the return more in that just that the people want to be there, and then that translates, like you were saying, to more people being there, more people spending money, kind of thing. So what you're trying to really create is just a place that people want to be.
I think it's creating a destination and a place that people want to be. And I think the goal of the art is going to depend on the property and are we talking about an office building where we're trying to attract tenants and what are the goals of those tenants and making sure that they're that they're supporting one another. Are you wanting people to come back to the office every day? Are you trying to do you have a retail locations on the ground floor that you're wanting to support? What are the goals of that exact property. If you're a company, what maybe it's more of a storytelling thing, and you're trying to talk about your values in a visual way. And so, for example, sustainability is one of your values. So you're gonna work with an artist that uses repurposed materials in some way, and that plays into the story that you want to tell your employees and your visitors. So the art supports the story. Um, if it's a mixed use property that is a large scale development, maybe they're trying to create, a cohesive narrative for that urban destination, and the artwork is going to help really explain what that is to all of the people that are going to come there. And maybe that's about, it's about the local community, or maybe it's about being innovative, or maybe it's about being luxurious. Like, whatever it is, your artwork is going to support that vision and support that story. I do think that art is, if it's a retail type situation where you're really trying to increase the dwell time of people and get them to return again and again, the artwork and the vibe of the space, that's going to be a huge factor if people make those kinds of decisions, if they stick around and spend their money. The Miami Design District is a success story, where it was old warehouses, pretty run down. The developers came in, completely redid that area, added a ton of public art and murals. Now it's a luxury destination, but there's lots of luxury destinations throughout the country. That particular one showed huge success even during COVID. And I think the art is one of the big differentiating factors between why that particular destination has done so well compared to other, luxury retail that maybe really suffered over the past couple of years.
Yeah. So for the consumer or the property owner that's looking to, uh, invest in art and create more of a desirable, place where people want to be. Is there a way to look at it from just I mean, how art is priced, or a budget um, for art? Is there is there any kind of rules or ways to think of that help one to think of, if I spend this much, I'll get, does that make sense what I'm trying to ask?
Yes, it totally does. And I think that budgeting is what it, it's a challenge. And it's part of it is just like, what are you going to feel
Yeah.
comfortable with? I think when there are, so just for an example, when cities or universities, a lot of times they are mandated to include public art on a project, and their range is 0.5% to 2% of the construction budget. They will line item as their art budget for a space. And knowing that, I've gone back and looked at our projects, and it is pretty much in line when I've gone to look at how much our clients spend on art. I think that that is a good range just to start thinking about it. That's not a steadfast rule, and ultimately, it's going to be what the client feels comfortable in spending, and that could vary between a small company and a major developer. Um, if it's a smaller company really wanting to get impact out of art, what my coaching is that put it all in your big impact areas. Don't try to spread it out too thin, and don't feel like you have to cover every wall. It's more impactful and more memorable to have one really stunning piece that speaks to your story or your values or your location or your community, that can really be part of what you talk about to your clients or your employees, than trying to fill a lot of areas with smaller pieces that just aren't going to be as meaningful. So, when you're working with a consultant, they will be able to show you, kind of good, better, best type options of, okay, this is what a framed print looks like, this, and then maybe the next step up is going to be, these are emerging artists or a mural or some kind of wall graphic, and then something, the best is going to be something more dimensional out of different kinds of materials and more large scale, and maybe it's interactive, so there's lots of different ranges, there's lots of different artists, and the benefit of working with an art consultant is that they can really help you look at your plans, help you decide which spaces are going to give you the most bang for your buck. They can help you decide what kinds of pieces in different areas might be most effective. They can help you develop a budget. And, art consultants are going to look at your goals and kind of dive into your vision for your space, understand your market and who you're trying to connect with. And then they are going to reach into their resources and pull different options and help you walk through what different kinds of artwork would look like and help you see what's available. Because I also think that people who aren't in the art world, they're thinking, oil on canvas, or they're thinking a framed photograph. There's so much out there that I think if you're not in the art world, you don't even know what the possibilities are. And there's so much. So having a professional kind of guide you through the process is incredibly helpful, as is on bigger spaces. A lot of times, you could be working with 10 artists, or you want a sculpture outside, or there's all kinds of different needs that you're wanting. That's a lot of different artists. That's a lot of people to kind of wrangle and to keep on budget and keep on the timeline of a commercial project. And so a consultant kind of helps you project manage the art piece of it, not just from a budget standpoint, but from selection and fabrication and installation, kind of the whole process.
Got it. So in the your clients, the people you work with, do you find that when you get into this, are pieces usually being commissioned, or are the clients able to identify kind of what they would like, and then existing pieces that have already been created, uh, purchased from those?
Yeah, it can be both. So typically I would say for the larger pieces that are going to be the showstoppers, particularly in, like a large scale real estate development, those are probably going to be commissioned. But there can certainly be, in amenity spaces and other smaller spaces, maybe they find there's an artist that they really love, and that artist happens to have a piece in studio that would be just the right piece, or you find something at a gallery that's going to be the right fit. So that's absolutely possible, but a consultant is going to help you with those decisions as well. Sometimes too, sometimes people wait till the last minute and there's not time to do commissions because they have an event coming up, or there's some reason that they need something much quicker. That's, could be a time that you're going to buy something in studio. But I really encourage people to think about the artwork early in the process. It gives you so many more options to find the exact right piece that's really going to meet the needs of the project. It's also going to make sure that anything that needs blocking or lighting, or maybe it's a interactive piece that needs data, different electrical, it's going to need a foundation, like whatever the needs of that piece are, that can all be coordinated with the construction schedule at the right time. That's going to make this whole process the most cost effective for the client, instead of having to backtrack and add something in later, or you fall in love with a piece that's going to be exactly the right thing, but there's no way to redo this lighting, or there's just like all kinds of things that obstacles that you can run into, that it wouldn't have been a problem if we had thought of this 6 months ago, but now that we're at this point, there's no going back. So you're gonna have to do your second choice or your third choice. So thinking about it early in the process, and when you're thinking about your architecture and your interiors, you should also be thinking about the art. The art is an important component of the overall look and feel and environment that you're trying to create. And putting it off to the last second really does a disservice to the vision of what the possibilities are for, and how the art can be most helpful in attracting people and creating the kind of atmosphere and destination that you want to achieve.
Yeah. No, it's fascinating, the just the art community and all the different uh, I would say genres, but what's the word for the different disciplines or the different types? I thought there was a word I thought I was looking for, but just whether it be a sculpture or a painting
Different
or
media.
yeah, yeah, uh, just all the different mediums that
Yeah.
they can work in. Um, it's just it it's funny when I'm thinking about it, I recognize certain things and kind of the reasons why, or the place I was and the piece I saw there, kind of thing. But it's not something that like I would have been able to make a list of. But as I'm listening to you and I'm thinking about the places I've been, and the places that have caught my attention, and there is a vibe about the place. There's clearly a some art there that is magnetic to be in there. So
Well,
that's
that's what
cool.
I'm saying too. It's like it's subconscious. So you might not even be aware that it's making you feel good, that it's making you have that kind of connection, but it is. Like you're connecting with it in a way that you might not consciously realize, but it's still happening. Whether you realize it's happening or not, your brain is connecting that this place feels good. I would come back to this place.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Hey, Jennifer, if we could, I'd like to shift gears here for a second.
Sure.
As I mentioned before we started, by day I'm an insurance broker, and as such, I work with my clients to assess risk and determine what to do with the risk. And there's three strategies we typically consider. We first look to see if there's a way we can avoid the risk. When that's not an option, we look to see if we can minimize the risk. And if we cannot avoid nor minimize the risk, we look to see if there's a way we can transfer the risk. And that's what an insurance policy is. It is a risk transfer vehicle. And as such, I like to ask my guest if they can look at their own situation. Could be clients, could be municipalities, could be the economy, whatever it is that you identify and consider to be the biggest risk. And again, for clarification, while I am an insurance broker, I'm not necessarily looking for an insurance related answer. And so if you're willing, I'd like to ask you, Jennifer Brener Seay, what is the biggest risk?
So I'm going to give you two, Darren. One of the biggest risks, I think, is just having solid contracts. And the contracts are there to protect you from all different kinds of risks. So, we're a small business. We've been in business for 23 years. I think for a long time, I had a very simple contract that I don't think was probably protecting me from what could go wrong. And it was actually a real estate developer friend of mine, as we were going after and winning these bigger and bigger projects, 15 floor ground up brand new builds, and we were going to be installing huge sculptures. He was like, you need a better contract. You need a better contract than this. So we really have worked to strengthen our contracts to protect us, to protect the artists, to protect the clients. And in addition to that, as a risk to the business and the economy, I, as a business owner, have never really focused on one vertical, because I got lucky in the 2008 recession that I had just taken on a big our first really big higher education project and our first assisted living project when kind of everything was hitting the fan at that time and corporate was falling apart. And it really showed me that in a business as niche as mine, I need to be diverse in the kinds of projects that we take on. So if one sector is having a hard time, we do not have all of our eggs in that basket. So we work in all areas of commercial real estate and with different kinds of companies and different industries to protect ourselves from things in the economy that I have no control over.
Yeah, it's important diversification there, and also, like you said, the contracts. Make sure the conclusion I've drawn on that is that whoever's written the contract, it's protecting them.
Yeah.
As opposed to if you're presented a contract to sign, it's probably not designed to protect you as much. So
Yeah.
definitely do that. But that's good stuff. Hey, Jennifer, where can the listeners go if they'd like to learn more or connect with you?
Yeah, thank you. Our website has lots of great information and examples of our work. It's artplusartisans.com, all spelled out. I'm also very active on LinkedIn. Jennifer Brenner is Brener, and C is spelled Seay.
Awesome. Well, Jennifer Brener Seay, I cannot say thanks enough for taking the time to talk today. I've enjoyed it, learned a lot, and I look forward to doing it again soon.
Thank you, Darren. It was my absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for talking with me.
You got it. For our listeners, if you like this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Remember, the more you know, the more you grow. That's all we've got this week. Until next time, thanks for listening to Commercial Real Estate Pro Network's CREPN Radio.
You're listening to CREPN Radio for influential commercial real estate professionals. For more information on this or any of our guests, like us on Facebook, CREPN Radio.